right. Today we are going to do story problems with inequalities. You should have 1.5 sheets of paper from Mrs. Adams. Mrs. Adams will pass them out. I think Mrs. Adams is my sub. So we're starting on page 122. The half sheet of paper, trim and tape it into the top of page 122. Then we'll cut each problem as we get to it and tape it in, so make sure you hit pause at that point. So at any time you need extra time, make sure you hit pause. Sometimes inequalities, you can kind of use common sense. If it says it's more than, then you're going to have a greater than symbol. Is greater than, is larger than, or above, those are your math action words for your symbol if you need it. Minimum, at least, is not less than, not smaller than. It's greater than or equal to. Is smaller than, is less than, below is your less than symbol. Maximum, at most, not more than, is not greater than, is the less than or equal to symbol. These are not the only math action words for inequalities, but they're probably the most common, especially at least, maximum. All right, so first problem we're going to do is the one that's this one, an average of 70, 75, 83, 80. Please cut it out and tape it right underneath your math action words. All right, an average, so we have to remember how we do averages, of 70, 75, 83, 80, and a fifth number is at least 80. Describe the value of the fifth number. So I'm going to have an average, and that's being compared to 80. My math action word is at least. So my average must be at least 80. So that means it must be greater than or equal to 80. Now I'm going to define my variable. What we're being asked for is the fifth number. So I'm going to let f equal my fifth number. And I'm going to remember how I do averages. Add them together and divide by how many you're adding. So 70 plus 75 plus 83 plus 80 plus my fifth number. My fifth number is f. Because I don't know what it is, I'm trying to find it. And I'm dividing by how many numbers I've just added. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So I'm dividing by 5. My greater than or equal to symbol, and 80. At this point, there's several things you can, a couple different options. What I'm going to do first is get rid of my fraction. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 5. That leaves me with 70 plus 75 plus 83 plus 80 plus f is greater than or equal to 400. Then you're going to add all of these. When you add them, you get 308 plus f is greater than or equal to 400. Our goal is to get our variable term by itself. So I'm going to use an inverse operation and subtract 308 from both sides. 308 minus 308 is 0, so I'm left with f is greater than or equal to 400 minus 308 is 92. My variable must be greater than or equal to 92. I'm ready for my sentence. Students in the past have missed points because their sentences are stinky. So your sentence has to be this in word form. F is your fifth number. So the fifth number must be, I have to put the inequality into word form. I can say greater than or equal to. I can say at least. I can use any of those terms on that sheet for greater than or equal to. Minimum is not less than, not smaller than. It's easiest for me to just write out what this inequality is. So the fifth number must be greater than or equal to 92, period. If you just say the fifth number must be 92, that will be wrong because it doesn't need to just be 92. It can be 98. It could be 99. It just needs to be greater than or equal to 92. Your next problem. Natalie's going to an amusement park. Please put that on the top of page 123. The top of page 123. Natalie goes to an amusement park with her friends. The admission fee to the amusement park is $4. Each ride costs 80 cents. If Natalie has only $25 to spend, how many rides can she go on? I'm going to define my variable first. How many rides can she go on is what we're being asked. So my variable is let whatever letter of the alphabet you want. I'm choosing R. Let R equal the number of rides. And then I want to organize this a little bit. So the money she spends must be compared to how much she has. What she spends must be what compared to how much she has? It must be less than or equal to. She can't spend more money than she has. She's in trouble then. So now let's look at how we can express what she spends. So we know she spends this. The admission fee is $4. So we're going to start with our $4. And then she's spending more money. So we're adding to it 80 cents each ride. So 80 cents times the number of rides she goes on. If she went on 2 rides, it would be $1.60. 3 rides, $2.40. We only wish that the rides at Old Settlers Days were this cheap. Ha ha ha. And then I have to finish out my inequality. So remember, you have to have this inequality in order to have credit, just like an equation. I need to get my variable term by itself using inverse operations. So I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides, and then I end up with 0.80r is less than or equal to 21. Oh, you know what? This is a decimal. I hate decimals. I should have gotten rid of my decimals first, but that's okay. I'll get rid of them now. I'm going to multiply each side by 100. I could multiply by 10 because it's a 0 there, but that's okay. 80r is less than or equal to 2100. No, it's much better. Divide by 80. I can simplify this right away by dividing both by 10, so I'm left with r is less than or equal to 210 over 80. Ooh, that's not right. 210 over 8. I'm going to use my calculator at this point because that doesn't divide evenly. So when I use my calculator, r is less than or equal to 26.25. As always, you look at it and see if it makes sense. R is the number of rides. Can she go on fewer than 26.25 rides? No, because you cannot go on a quarter of a ride. So, are you going to round down or round up? You're not going to round up because then you don't have enough money for the last ride. So you have to round down for this one. So, we know, asking how many rides she can go on. So Natalie can go on, I have to use my inequality words, less than or equal to 26 rides. Your next problem, Jonathan. Cut out Jonathan's problem and please put it right underneath Natalie's problem on the bottom of page 123. Jonathan needs to make at least how many 2-point baskets in order to score at least 25 points? I'm going to define my variable. It's asking me how many baskets. So let B equal number of baskets that Jonathan has to score. And now I'm going to organize it in my head. So, points that Jonathan makes has to be something compared to 25. Math action word. Points that he makes has to be at least, my inequality for at least is greater than or equal to. So the points that Jonathan makes has to be greater than or equal to 25. Okay, now I need an expression for the points that he makes. If B is for baskets, how many points for one basket? 2, it says right there. How many points for 2 baskets? 4. So what are you doing to the 2? You're multiplying the 2 times the number of baskets that he makes. 2 times the number of baskets he makes will be the number of points that he makes. 2b is greater than or equal to 25. Divide by 2. B is greater than or equal to 12.5. So the number of baskets he makes, 12.5. Oh, really? Seriously? You can have half of a basket? And don't be smart and tell me he can make a free throw, because that's not what the question's asking you for. So Jonathan cannot make half of a basket. So in order to make more points than 25, or equal to 25, more or equal, you need to round this up to 13. If you rounded this down to 12, it would only be 24 points, and that's not the right number of baskets. So now we're ready for the sentence. Jonathan needs to make my inequality phrase greater than or equal to, I could have said at least, 13 baskets. You have to have your inequality phrase in your answer, otherwise it's not correct, because he does not need to make only 13 baskets. He has to make a minimum of 13 baskets. Our next problem is about Anna. Please put that on the top of page 124. Top of page 124. Read it. Think about it. Look what it's asking you for. It's asking you for how many months. So I'm going to define my variable. I'm going to let M, any letter of the alphabet you want to, let M equal the number of months. Now I'm going to organize it. Organize it in my head before I start thinking about numbers. Club A, less expensive than Club B. So I'm going to Club A compared to Club B. I want Club A to be less than Club B, because that's what it says, less expensive. Now I have to figure out the price for Club A. Club A is $93 plus $35 per month. The number of months is M, so it's 93 plus 35 times M. That's Club A. I know my inequality symbol is going to be less than. Now I need to figure out how much Club B is. Hit pause and try and do this by yourself. Did you have 75 plus 40M? If so, great. If not, you need to work on that. And if you didn't even pause it, seriously? I need my variable terms on the same side, my constants on the other side. I'm going to subtract 35M from both sides first. I'm left with 93 is less than 75 plus 5M. I want my variable to stay there. I want to move my constant to the other side, so I'm going to subtract 75 from both sides. 93 minus 75, I messed up on this one earlier, is 18. 18 is less than 5M. Need to get my variable by itself. Divide both sides by 5. I'm left with 3 3/5 is less than M. Going back to look at what we're being asked to find, how many months? 3 3/4 months is what I got, but you cannot pay for I said 3/4, I meant 3/5. You cannot pay for 3/5 of a month. So it's either 3 months or 4 months. If it's 3 months, Club A is not less expensive. So we have to round up to 4 months, so it will be less expensive. So after 4 months, this after means it's 4 months or above. After 4 months, Club A, let's put our more. Club A, nah, I don't like that. After 4 months, Club A will be less expensive than Club B. after 4 months, Club A will be less expensive than Club B. Please cut this one out and tape into page 125. It's on the top. Okay, so we read the problem. Falcons score 18 points, then 22 points, then 12 points. The Vikings score 55 points the entire game. What's the minimum number of points the Falcons must score in the final quarter to beat the Vikings? So I'm going to define my variable. We want to know the final quarter, how many points. So I'm going to say let P equal points scored in final quarter. Now I'm going to organize my thinking. Total points of the Falcons. That's what we're looking for. Total points of the Falcons has to be what compared to the Vikings? We want them to beat the Vikings, so we have to have greater points than the Vikings. So how do we find total points for the Falcons? 18 first quarter, plus 22 second quarter, plus 12 the third quarter, plus however many in the final quarter, which we know is P, has to be greater than the points the Vikings scored, which is 55. These are on the same side of your inequality, so you add them. 18 plus 22 plus 12 is 52. 52 plus P is greater than 55. Now I'm ready to do inverse operations because I can't do any more simplifying on the same side. So minus 52, inverse operation on both sides. I'm left with P is greater than 3. I have to write my sentence. The Vikings, oh, that's wrong. The Falcons must score more than 3 points. The Falcons must score greater than 3 points. The Falcons must score, you can't say minimum, because if you say they must score a minimum of 3 points, you end up a tie, and you do not want to be a tie. It definitely has to be greater. So that inequality word does not work in this situation, because we want to beat. So make sure you use common sense, because it's not always, yes. It's just not always. All right, underneath that one, put the one about Ben. That's 125. All right, Ben's saving money to buy an iPad. He saved this much, that much, and then this much. He needs at least how much more to buy the iPad? I'm going to define my variable. Let M equals money Ben needs. Now I'm going to organize my thoughts. Ben's going to save money, and it has to be something compared to the $500 for his iPad. What he saves must be greater than or equal to. At least. Greater than or equal to. So let's see what he has saved. He saved 120 plus 50 plus 30 plus whatever else he needs, greater than or equal to 500. These are on the same side of your inequality, so add them. 120 plus 50 plus 30 is 200. 200 plus M is greater than or equal to 500. You want this variable term to be by itself. So use inverse operations to subtract 200 from both sides. 200 minus 200 is 0. That leaves you with your variable. 500 minus 200 is 300. So now I know. Ben needs at least, I could have said greater than or equal to, $300 more. Period. Homework, page 239, 240, numbers 1 through 11. 12 and 13 are replacement questions if you can answer them by yourself and show all of your work. Make sure 1 through 11 also you show all of your work. I need to see the inequalities in addition to the answer in a well-written sentence with your inequality words in your sentence. Test will be next week. This is your last section. We'll have the worksheet, then our reviews. Have a fabulous weekend.